Periodically, we get so much news in a week that I have to find a way to fit all the news into a 5-day period because I try not to have the heavier news stories on the weekend. And it gets to be difficult at times. So you might have heard about this. If you haven't, well, get ready to pray for the people of the Diocese of St. Augustine, Florida, because their TLMs are now being taken almost completely away, and the most restrictive and draconian version or rules are being put in place there, perhaps only to be overshadowed by what is rumored to be coming from Cardinal Wilton Gregory in the imperial capital. So I'm going to read to you the decree, because I haven't done one of these in a long time, that's going to implement the most restrictive ban on the Latin Mass possibly in the country, and if not in the country, then pretty close to it. This is making waves, by the way, because there's a Latin Mass in that diocese that has been there since well before Summorum Pontificum, and the bishop there has pulled the plug on it. Yeah, again, more assaults on our tradition. This is what dialogue and accompaniment is now in the springtime of the Church of the New Advent. This is all being done in the name of unity, in the name of the Second Vatican Council and all the things that the council actually did, technically speaking, call for. That's what this is all being done by. So almost a year after the issuing of Traditionis Custodes, 10 months after TC was released, we get this. So let's dive into this, and I'll give you some thoughts afterwards. Decree issued by the Most Reverend Philippe J. Estevez, Bishop of St. Augustine, implementing the motu proprio Traditionis Custodes in the Diocese of St. Augustine. In response to the Supreme Pontiff Francis's apostolic letter motu proprio on the use of the Roman liturgy prior to the reform of 1970, Traditionis Custodes, and after consultation with the Congregation for Divine Worship and the Discipline of the Sacraments, ad hoc committee on the implementation of the motu proprio Traditionis Custodes, and Presbyteral Council, I hereby decree the following. 1. The celebration of the Missale Romanum of 1962 in the Diocese of St. Augustine is available at St. Joseph's Parish in Jacksonville, Florida, exclusively in the non-parochial historic church, and St. Edward's Parish in Stark, Florida, for 2 years as per a dispensation granted by the Congregation for Divine Worship and the Discipline of the Sacraments. 2. No authorization for the celebration of the Missale Romanum antecedent to the reform of 1970 shall be granted for new groups, places, or ad hoc requests outside of the approved parishes. 3. There should be no increase of masses according to the Missale Romanum of 1962. 4. The readings for masses according to the Missale Romanum of 1962 must be proclaimed in the vernacular language using translations approved by the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. The readings are not to be proclaimed in Latin. 5. A priest shall be appointed as the bishop's delegate to assist the priests and the faithful in the proper celebration of the Missale Romanum of 1962. 6. Priests who have already been celebrating masses according to the Missale of 1962 thus far must petition the bishop for permission/authorization to continue enjoying this faculty. 7. The only priests permitted to celebrate masses according to the Missal of 1962 are those who have been authorized by the bishop. 8. There should be no celebration of other sacraments and/or rites according to the Rituale Romanum. 9. Appropriate catechesis should take place to ensure that the faithful who participate in the celebration of the Missale Romanum of 1962 are properly instructed regarding the celebration of the liturgy according to the liturgical norms of the Second Vatican Council, which forms the unique expression of the lex orandi of the Roman Rite. 10. It is never proper for elements of the Missale Romanum of 1962 to be brought into the Reformed liturgy promulgated by the Holy See following Vatican II. This decree is effective June 29, 2022. Given at the Catholic Center, Jacksonville, Florida, on this 18th day of May, 2022, signed Most Reverend Philippe J. Estevez, Bishop of St. Augustine, Florida. Now, this is the most draconian issuing so far that we've seen, or it's up there among the most draconian. There can be no increase of masses according to the 1962 missile. That's the one that the FSSP use and the SSPX use, typically. No increase of masses. So they've essentially sent masses to one or two parishes in the entire diocese, period, and those parishes are not permitted to add more masses. Have fun if you're going to start driving if you're in that diocese and you intend to start driving long distance to Jacksonville to go to Mass. There may not be room for you. Two, they're actually not even using, technically speaking, the 1962 missal, because the 1962 missal says to proclaim the readings in Latin. It is by convention that during his homily, the priest will then proclaim again in the vernacular the readings. And he's required here to use modern translations. Typically, you get to the translations provided by the Douay Rheims, which, at least in the English-speaking world, a traditional English translation. Strictly speaking, the oldest official English language Bible in the world, Catholic or Protestant. It beats the King James by at least a year. So now they've altered the 1962 missal, which is in Traditionis Custodes, to do exactly that. He's going to be requiring all of his priests to get permission, who are already saying the Mass, to keep saying the Mass, and you can expect most of them will be denied, if not all of them. There should be no celebration of other sacraments or rites according to the Rituale Romanum. Think about that for a second, folks. It's a lot of sacraments. It's almost all the rest. But the most glaring point here is point 9, and I'll read it again. Appropriate catechesis should take place to ensure that the faithful who participate in the celebration of the Missale Romanum of 1962 are properly instructed regarding the celebration of the liturgy, according to the liturgical norms of the Second Vatican Council. Combine that with there being very few offerings and no new masses for this at the authorized parishes, and it's pretty stark what they're doing here. They've said in this letter that this is only for 2 years. Francis said the purpose in Traditionis Custodes was to get as many people back to the Novus Ordo Mass as possible, that this is a transition period. And here we have this. This is right there, the catechesis to get you used to the new Mass, to get you to accept it. So I have to ask you, what will you do? Will you continue to listen to voices who tell you, don't go to Mass with certain groups because they have a weird relationship with Rome? Will you return to the Novus Ordo? Will you drive, if you're in that diocese, to Jacksonville and just hope that you can get into one of the Masses and hope that this just lasts only through Francis, who may be on the throne of Peter for another 10 years? I know that sounds unreasonable to some people to think that, but he might be there for another 10 years. What will you do? I'm very curious to hear what you're going to do about all this, or, in your own life. So let me know in the comments, please. And like and subscribe if you haven't. It really does help, especially in these times where, for some reason or another, our hosts aren't really sending my videos out to even my own subscribers anymore. It's interesting, and I can see that in my analytics. I'm not just, hypothesizing here. I can see it in my own analytics. Let me know what you will do in this situation, what you think of this letter. And as always, pray for the church. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.